Hi, my name is Calvin Decker. I'm with Coda Bears. We're a vendor out here in the Midwest, but we kind of service the whole world. Put together a Lunch and Learn program, and today's Lunch and Learn is going to be research and development credits and how to make my Epicor software help me track this. So first thing with Epicor, Epicor has a project module. This is not base product. You do have to request the project module be added to your license if you don't already have it. But ERP R&D credits or research and development, just using the project allows me to track all of the various aspects of my project as well. Now, it's not going to be an all-encompassing, it's not Microsoft project, it's not, I'm going to say, definitely PMP certified, but it's going to help us definitely track what we need to. The projects can have related jobs. They can have sales orders. They can have quote, purchase orders. There is a build project analysis that has to be run. This goes out and grabs all the information and puts it into the project. So as people are doing transactions, it's updating your project in real time. There's also a cost center where we can set up estimated costs, budgets, and we can track what the actual is that's coming in from time and expense entry or through job labor entry. Any materials, those costs flow right into it, either from purchasing or from the job. We'll cover that. Then on top of that, additional documentation. What did the engineers have to design? Where are my new blueprints? Do I need a COC for this? Do I have a training video to train the people how to make this product after we've prototyped it? And then also, like I said, the time tracking can be done directly into the project. For the financial folk on the call today, we can also add a dynamic GL segment, and this would allow us to track the financials as they're posted to the general ledger. If the transaction references a project ID, we can have the project ID added dynamically to the GL transaction. This way I can pull up my GL report and say, give me everything for project 1, 2, 3. You'll see all the revenue, all the expenses across your entire chart. Very quick way to make sure. The GL segment also extends the functionality into accounts payable. So we'll talk about that as we get that slide here. Next one, project management. We can set up our R&D project, give it detailed descriptions, timeline, any information regarding this, the breakdown of the structure. What are the milestones? What do we need to make sure the dates we meet? And then who am I allocating to do this work if I'm going to be tracking people as well? So the default project screen, there's not a lot like an Epicor to fill out. It's just you're going to fill out the areas that are going to apply to your project. If you don't want to use a work breakdown structure and I just want a bucket to put money in, can do that. I've seen people use this for 2024 R&D, and then they just lump everything into it. It's not an individual project for each one. The project jobs link jobs to projects, whether it's an engineering job, a manufacturing job, a prototyping job, all of the sample parts that are built and the cost to make them, those prototypes, that R&D initial load, and then any engineering design. If I have engineers clocking onto a job, I can track their labor hours and their expense also into it. To add an item or to add a related item in projects, you just go to the related tab. You can click on the overflow and say, add me a new related job, add me a new related purchase order. Once you add a purchase order as well as a job, any expenses or information on the purchase order is rolled over into the project. So if I link POs to the project directly, engineering sample materials or materials that we need to test with, subcontract vendors, expenses, those can also be linked to this with a purchase order direct on the PO screen. On the PO line, you can reference what project the purchase is for. If I buy direct PO purchases for a job, I can say, hey, go ahead and link those also in here. By using that GL segment, what I was saying with the AP expense, when we had to take the entire team out golfing to make sure they are motivated moving forward. Well, that's still kind of the R&D expense. I want to make sure it goes with it, but there's no PO in the system. There's no job for that. When I enter that AP invoice, I get to add that dynamic segment of the project ID onto that expense. This is not native. You do have to add a custom GL segment or a dynamic segment. It doesn't have to be mandatory. If there's no project on the transaction, Epicor leaves it blank. If it's linked to a project, Epicor can put the project ID onto your financial transaction. As we start collecting expenses from purchase orders, AP invoices, jobs, there is a function where you need to run the build project analysis. This makes sure that if somebody edited a labor record, the updated labor cost got captured into it. We accidentally issued 1,000 pounds of metal, but it was only 100. When they put that correction in, it doesn't always go into the project properly. So when you run the build project analysis, it's going to go out to all the areas and all the related items and pull in updated financials. These can also be tied down to the work breakdown structure if you take your project kind of a step further and say, this is the one we're doing. After the project analysis is built, if you are using something like Microsoft Project, Epicor does have the ability to export a project file that you can open in Microsoft Project and take even further. Any of the project costs are refreshed after that build process is done. So everything now flows in. All of my budgets are comparable. Any allocations that I do are going to pull up in here. And again, that dynamic GL segment's going to say, hey, go out and grab stuff also from finance. Every R&D project I've ever seen always involves paperwork, the design documents, the test patterns, the what we're going to do for this project. All of those documents, even the sales and marketing ability for a new product, can be stored against that project. So I now see what's my potential income revenue. If I have customers placing quotes for a brand new project, I can link those also to the project and see what would be the potential revenue for this as well, R&D. Document storage is just the basic document management system in Epicor. You don't need a fancy one. The base one will work totally fine. I can store videos, Excel files, Word files, PDF, SolidWorks files, doesn't matter. If it's a file that's in Windows, you can attach it to the project and keep it centrally located. If you purchased ECM or DocStar from Epicor, this can also be used with projects, but then you're going to have version control on those documents as well through the ECM system. That's not an Epicor feature, that's going to be ECM. That module is what allows for that feature and ability. Time and attendance. I have a lot of engineers that do that. If I have a bunch of design engineers, do they have to punch in at 8 in the morning and then punch out at 10:30 when they're done, then come back on at 11:30 and work for a half an hour? I can't find any engineer that will operate the MES system to track their time for projects, but they will turn around and write down a daily sheet and say, these are the hours I spent and this is what I was working on, so that someone can enter that through time and expense and tie those back to the jobs that were created for the engineering piece. Time entry is just basic time and expense entry. So it's nothing fancy. If you can get your engineers to clock on and off the jobs, rock on, you don't even have to worry about that. As far as the time tracking reports, just use the Epicor Basic. I'm not too worried about that. I can turn around and say, run my labor report, and here's my filter, my engineering group that I want to look at. I don't want to see everybody. But that labor report is going to show me we were estimating 2 hours for this and they took 15. We want to know also, hey, where'd we go wrong with this? Projects really are simple as long as we keep it kind of on a higher level. Don't expect Epicor to be a full project tracking software, but it is going to be a nice bucket place where we can make sure all the financial ducks go into the same location. I want to make sure that all of my labor costs go here, all of my material costs get credited off to that R&D project, so that when it comes time for year end, I can take that export from the project and know exactly what I spent in 2025 for R&D credit requests. If I need to go to the auditor, I can show them every job, every timestamp, every purchase that went behind that project.
What are the costs posted, balance sheet or P&L?
Depending on where you want to put this. They can also just be costs that go to the project, but your job is going to say, this is following this product group, it's following this part class. It's going to follow the regular rules for your jobs. So wherever you're posting engineering labor, is that cost of sales or cost of goods?
Yeah.
Yep, it's where they're posting. That's what I was saying. It's going to go look at your GL controls that you set up behind it. That's fully customizable by you. You can say labor goes here for R&D. If you want to break it out, you really don't need to, because if it's a dynamic segment, it can go to the regular labor account. It's just going to have the project ID tagged onto it.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.